press
decide what
description,
kind of
but it's then
notifications
turned
you
it
want,
on. But
whether you
it's not
want video
complicated.
notifications or what color theme you want, which is nice. Or you can kind of get some of the summary news that I do. So it's kind of cool. It's in the Apple App Store. It's totally
Shopee,
free. Go check it out.
I hope
There are
you
some
find
things
that
that are, of course,
somewhere,
member only, like the Alpha
and you're gonna
Report, which, this morning, for
do the
example,
right
where
thing.
I said, hey, I think today's going to be a fade day, and sure enough, it was. Kind of cool. So we're building that into the app just to make it a little easier and nicer user experience for folks. So people really seem to like that so far. It's still in a beta though, so we're open to your feedback. Anyway, back to tariffs here. There's a talk about 25% tariffs on cars on Canada. Donald Trump suggested that at some point that could go up, which is weird because now he did say it's not being considered at the moment, but he triples down on this idea of like, we really we really don't want Canada to make cars for us. Okay, we make great cars. Mexico took a lot of our car business too. We don't like it. We don't want their cars. We want our own cars. We can make our own cars. Our cars are great. We don't need. Little does he seemed to recall that like the whole point of the USMCA was to integrate manufacturing between Mexico, the United States, and Canada. These really complicated supply chains were really built between the three countries here, thinking that we would have free trade. So a little complicated here. This comes, by the way, at the same time as there's now Amazon and Walmart seller hoarding of goods, mostly third-party seller goods, which third-party sellers make up like 60% of sales on Amazon. A lot of them are shipping stuff in from China to Canada, and they're just waiting for the tariffs to go away. But it doesn't actually sound like there's any kind of real progress on Chinese negotiations. Flexport argued last week they saw a 50% increase in imports to to Canada from China. Because people are warehousing it up in Canada, waiting to bring it in here. But USMCA tracks country of origin, so you can't really bypass as easily as you might think. And keep in mind, we lost a lot of our manufacturing prowess, not just in the 70s through Nixon's price controls, but also through Reaganism, and kind of in part the failure of unions to work with businesses. Could have been the failure of business leaders too. But unions are pushing for higher wages, which of course could make America less competitive. And then it's really on business owners to have a productivity roadmap with the unions to keep America competitive and these businesses competitive. But that didn't happen. And this is how Japan really took over autos in the 80s, and how unions and business owners today are just making American manufacturing less competitive. It's how we've lost our trade skills to some extent. And now we look at the UAW and they're doubling down on, yeah, Trump, you're doing great with protectionist tariffs. That helps union members today, but it actually hurts them long term. What we really should be looking at is how can we work together with stimulating trade school and new trade education, providing incentives for that, and then we can grow our manufacturing here. Now, speaking of education, Donald Trump did sign an executive order today. Honestly, I don't think he knew what any of the executive orders were because he gets a summary on them and then he just signs them. And one of the points where we realized he doesn't know what any of these executive orders are, and maybe that's just how he does business, he trusts his team, he picks his team, so maybe that's just the way it is. But there was one executive order that came across where the staff were saying, hey, we're going to focus on university accreditation, forcing outcomes at schools, basically. Like in other words, you were only going to be eligible for accreditation if your students were actually succeeding. This is great, by the way. I'm a big fan of that. Like, we should be evaluating schools for accreditation based on the success of the students. That's a good thing. But then Donald Trump gets into talking about how high schools aren't teaching math and people are getting into college without math. And like, hey, is this executive order going to solve that? And they're like, well, it's going to, require some merit evaluation for accreditation for schools. So Trump's like, oh, okay, so this covers this, right? And they're like, it's going to do great things. He's like, all right, and then signs it. It's kind of like, all right, you didn't read any of these executive orders. Fine, whatever. Like, he picked his team, right? But look at you, he didn't read any of these executive orders. So it wasn't a very wise display, in my opinion. But they're requiring, which has always been required, but they're re-clarifying that foreign donations to colleges like university, like Harvard University, have to be disclosed. They're opening up and easing how challenging it is to become an accreditor for a university. So in other words, there could be more competition for university accreditors. And this is called Trump's secret weapon. So that way, university accrediting agencies or companies or whatever could, potentially, I don't know, have different standards
My
than
bag
other
is, like,
accreditators,
for rental
mostly
cars.
because
It's
some
not, like, serious
accreditation
stuff.
companies have been
No, it's
forcing
not today.
DEI on schools, and that's one of the ways that Trump wants to sort of dilute those companies that are trying to force DEI. So there's an executive order for that. An executive order on historically black colleges. We've got an executive order on workforce development and apprenticeships. What we were just talking about. Slotnick, of course, slides in here and is like, this is going to help us get jobs in with all your wonderful and great tariff policy, Mr. Trump. It's like, all right, okay, Mr. Slotnick, just tell Trump what he wants to hear, but it's not realistic. But it's okay. And then we get a little bit more on, hey, China's ripping us off, and the tariffs are going to solve everything. Right. So that's really on tariffs and education. We got a little bit on Putin. Donald Trump's like, look, I don't care on the side here. I just want them to make a deal. I covered Ukraine a lot more this morning on what's being required of Ukraine and how Zelensky's pushing back. And Trump is pissed off and Zelensky's pushing back. We didn't really hear anything new here other than that Trump wants to meet Putin at some point, but not soon. So it doesn't look like he's going to end up meeting Putin in Saudi Arabia as some were expecting that he might. So a lot of color there today on this. Also, if you were looking at the beige book at all, the beige book that came out from the Fed, honestly, I read it. I'm never gonna make a video on this. No, it's as generic as you could expect. Basically, like, hey, uncertainty's up. Consumer spending still seems to be good. I guess we'll wait and see. That's kind of the situation with the Fed. Donald Trump did also chime in on the Fed, suggesting, oh well, Jay Powell should cut rates. But then again, remember, the real impacts of this inflation are yet to be seen. So yeah, that's that. So with that, go check out the Meet Kevin app on the Meet Kevin App Store, and remember to check out House Hack. You get a 5% yield, and you get upside in the stock, and you get exposure diversification to real estate. We had a big inflow of funds yesterday from folks wanting to invest in House Hack and actually spending money to invest in House Hack. Mostly because I think every time we get these sort of like pop rallies where like we're finally coming off some of the lower levels, people are like, all right, perfect time for me to sell a little bit, diversify away from the rich valuation, and get exposed to somebody who's gonna, take this money and go buy wedge deal real estate. So it's kind of like getting diversification and insulation, because our goal is always buying below market anyway in real estate, which is obviously relatively easy to do for us because we've got systems around it. So anyway, learn more about that over at househack.com. Appreciate y'all being here, and yeah, that's all we got. So we'll see what happens tomorrow with markets, and we'll keep tracking all this tariff news.
Zero.
Feel free to
Zero of everything.
watch me update the news in the
Oh, there's someone.
as well. I think that could be a nice
That's
way
Meet
to sort of
Kevin.
send little news updates as well. And you can customize the notifications the way you want
There's
them.
two people
And if you're
that
Android,
keep
stay
up
tuned.
with American
Totally.
politics.
All right, folks, we'll see you soon. Bye.
That's it.
These things that you
Real
never see, I
estate is
feel
a
like
good
nobody
one.
else knows about this.
We'll try a little
We could
advertising
do
and
the
see
real
what
estate for you.
Congratulations, man. You have done so much. People love you. People look
I
up
don't
to you.
know.
I call him the bald guy.
Okay.
We're gonna go to a property event. Hey, that property event? Go back for a second, or was it just an advertisement that we can't go back to?
Where?
It said San Jose. That one. What date is it?
It's Dubai.
No. That's kind of crazy if we bought property in Dubai.
Oh,
kinda
okay. I have no idea what the hell is that.
That would be crazy.
You want me to click on it? Nobody's here anymore. You go.
Okay, I just stopped it.
The phone is here too.
Okay.